All right, joining me now on Inside TBT, the best in the business, Fran Fraschilla. Welcome back to the show.
Andrew, it's such a pleasure. I'm in Las Vegas at NBA Summer League, but I'm busy preparing for what will be a super regional in Wichita, not just literally, but figuratively as well. 16 great teams, some legendary college alumni rivalries, and also looking forward to one of the best diners in America, the Doodah Diner in the heart of Wichita. Best food that I've ever eaten at a diner in my life.
I'm looking forward to that, maybe more than anything else. You've raved about it for years. I've never been there. I'm looking forward to getting there. I can't wait.
We lose about 5 pounds before you come, okay? Because you're going to put 10 on, so you'll only be -5 when it's all said and done after a great few days in Wichita.
I love it. I love it. We'll jump right into it. Obviously, you're at Summer League, a lot of big time stories there, but we'll keep it, TBT for now. I don't want to go game by game because that could take forever, but let's start with the Aftershocks regional, or the Aftershock side of the super regional. Obviously, they're the headliner, they're the big host team. They've been here before, back-to-back winning every game possible on their home court. Are you expecting them to be able to recreate that magic they've done the last few years?
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. First of all, the place is going to be electric again. We can have this argument about what the best TBT regional sites have been through the years, but Wichita takes a backseat to nobody, Andrew, as you know. It's a phenomenal basketball community, 12 months a year. They love their Wichita State Shockers. And when the Aftershocks come back from playing overseas, it's electric in there. These guys are, heroes inside the city of Wichita. I absolutely expect them to be, very good again. Obviously, Connor Frankamp still playing at a high level in Europe. Guys like Darrell Willis, lots of good talent, and they usually deliver. They usually deliver some good performances as they did last year.
When I look through the bracket, I have a team in my mind that I think has the best chance to beat them out of these 8 teams. I want to hear who you think it is, and then I'll tell you who I think it is. I got a feeling it's going to be the same team.
Well, obviously, the matchup with the purple and black is a good one. Because you got a lot of guys that have played at a high level. Don't forget now, Kansas State, that's purple and black, as you and I know. Tell your podcast listeners. But you also have, and not in the same regional, but because it's 2 regionals in one, as you know. But the fact that K-State, KU with Mass Street, the Show Me guys from Missouri, Arkansas, TBT, that's going to be electric just because they're going to bring their own set of fans. Those schools were within a few hours of Wichita. So I think that second round matchup, I got my schedule here, so you got to help me out here.
Second round, the Aftershocks would play the winner, assuming they win. They'd play the winner of Beale Street Boys, the Memphis Alumni, and Broad Street Birds, the Temple Alumni, which that's going to be a great game right there.
That's a game. The Temple Alumni, they're Philly kids, going back to my first few years with TBT, there's always been a Philly team, some iteration of it. And East Coast guys like me, Philly guys, as tough as they come. That particular team has got some real talent. I think if I'm going to take a guess, I have my rosters here on my computer, but at least 5 of those guys were teammates, and I think they made an NCAA run. And so they're going to have great continuity. They're all in their mid-20s. So Shiz Alston comes to mind as a tremendous Temple player. Tony Paris is a legend down there coaching and working guys out, the coach of their team. And I think they're going to be very competitive versus anybody they play, including the Aftershocks, if they're able to advance.
I agree with you. And, moving to the other side, you mentioned, Kansas, Missouri. I mean, this bracket on the other side, the first round matchup is the Missouri Alumni Show Me Squad against the UNLV Alumni Vegas Rebellion. The winner, probably has a date with Mass Street, Kansas Alumni, in the second round. Yes, either team could win the first round matchup, but how cool would a Mizzou Kansas second round matchup in TBT be?
Crazy. It'll be crazy, really, because there's going to be a healthy number of KU fans at this event, and they hate Missouri. And they usually hate them in November and December. Now you get to hate them in July, you know. So and the players know it. They've talked about it. Guys like Mario Little and Tyshawn Taylor, you know, the Morris twins coaching, they all know about the Missouri rivalry. So I say hate, obviously, we say it in a sports term, but that would be electric in there if they're playing, you know, each other in the second round. I'm looking forward to that one.
We of course have our different jobs and duties with TBT, but at the end of the day, we do it because we love basketball. We're basketball fans at heart, coach, player, etc. You know, which of these teams excites you the most to just be able to sit and watch and get to see these guys hoop again?
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, because of my connection to the Big 12, and also being in the part of the country that I'm in, you know, Wichita, I'll drive from Stillwater to Lawrence sometimes when I got back-to-back games, and I'll stop in Wichita. And I mentioned earlier, you know, the Sunflower State, the state of Kansas, is a very underrated basketball state. Dr. Naismith went to KU as a professor, and you know, obviously invented the game. And you got a great history with Wichita State and K-State and KU. So any of those teams that plays, they're all capable of going and winning their regionals, obviously, because they're loaded with talent. So I would say any of those teams that can get out, I would not be surprised by, because they've all got good players. You know, a lot of these guys, you know, we see this every year, Andrew. 75% of the guys that play in TBT are still playing professionally overseas. And that's why this talent pool has always been so good going back to the early days. So, and as I look at to answer your question a little bit further, I'm looking at, like, you know, LA Cheaters. They always bring a bomb squad from the Drew League, you know, one of the best pro-am leagues in the United States. You know, when Kobe, the late Kobe, would show up, or LeBron or KD at the Drew League, it's special. And so you got a lot of Drew League guys that are still hooping at a high level who can make noise, because they're not all these guys, by the way, all these guys that play overseas, they're not rattled by playing in what essentially is Wichita State's home arena. These guys are real, true professional players. So the crowd is usually not a factor with a lot of those teams. But LA Cheaters come to mind as a team that I'm kind of anxious to see.
So one more team that we definitely got to talk about, Heartfire. All right.
Yeah.
They're a staple of TBT. Formerly, you know, Team 23, they merged with Heartfire. They're like the sneaky, quiet 2 seed. You know, I'll take partial blame for it. Everyone's talking about the alumni teams. You mentioned the LA Cheaters. I mean, Heartfire is right there. No one, you know, with TBT knowledge is going to be surprised if one of these teams, you know, comes out of the region. But what do you think overall about the balance in TBT between alumni teams and non-alumni teams? Do you like where it stands as of now?
Phenomenal. No, I do. You know, you mentioned Heartfire. They've got 4 wins in TBT through the years. That Team 23 team, I don't know if it's the same. I don't know if they get to carry over the record or not. They probably don't. But I remember early in the TBT, maybe the second year or third year, Team 23 was they had a bunch of guys that most of them I hadn't really heard of, and they were really good. And I remember they took the great overseas elite team to the wire one year in New York, I believe. So yeah, no, I think it's a great balance. I mean, we love the alumni teams because the fans of these teams get to see these guys come together again. You just think of Boeheim's Army, you know, and what they've meant to TBT, Best Virginia, obviously, and certainly, you know, Aftershocks. It's funny about Mass Street. You know, I think they were self-made the last time they played as a Kansas alumni team. And here's an interesting tidbit for you. Perry Ellis, one of the all-time greats at KU. I don't know if you remember this, Andrew. He was hurt very early in the game. I think he tore a patella tendon. It actually kept him from going overseas that year. Perry Ellis grew up 8 blocks from Koch Arena in Wichita. was a hero in Wichita before going on to Kansas and having a great career. So there's those kind of storylines, not just the alumni. The Morris twins coaching. I mean, how much better does it get than that? Two NBA players coaching, Mass Street. So by the time we get to Wichita, in my case, I'm going to have all these storylines buttoned up and tell the fans who are watching at home on ESPN why they should watch these games, and not just because of the great talent that we see every year, but the great connections and stories from each of these teams.
That's great. And I mentioned earlier that you're, the best in the business. Your partner in Wichita this year is pretty dang good too, Eric Collins. How excited are you to get to work with him?
Voice of the Charlotte Hornets. We were together in Wichita a couple of years ago, and certainly he knows about Doodah Diner, but no, I'm excited to work with Eric. We really hit it off when we were together last, and we'll be back together again in Wichita. So he's a pro. And, he's used to good basketball, not necessarily with the Hornets, although they're rebuilding, but being an NBA play-by-play guy, he's used to good basketball. And, of course, he knows, as you know, every year we've got a handful of guys, more than a handful, that have already played in the NBA. So Eric's familiarity with these guys is good, too.
So I guess got two more questions for you. The first one, if you were coaching in TBT, would you like the Elam ending, or would you be too stressed by it?
I think it's unbelievable. When John Mugar asked me 5 or 6 years ago, and others, that he knew had a connection to TBT, what I thought about the Elam ending, I was like, nah, no way. I'm a traditionalist. That's not going to fly. I just think it's unbelievable the way Elam ending has caught on, thanks to Nick Elam, Ball State University professor. I think the Elam ending has just added another layer of incredible excitement to TBT. I think the Elam ending would be great in AAU tournaments, obviously the NBA All-Star game. There's so many great places for it to be used, but there's no place it's used any better than TBT. And I've come around to being a fan of it.
I love to hear that. That's great. Glad to have you as a fan. I'm a fan of it as well. Final question / segment, and it's presented by Pedigo Wichita, which is a bike shop in Wichita. On one of our off days, we'll go for a little bike ride in Wichita together. But the final question is, do you have any questions for me? I know you're zoned in on the Wichita Super Regional, but do you have any questions? What are my thoughts on Wemby? Anything.
Yeah, no, you know what? I do have a question. Oftentimes when I get ready for a TBT, I have to prepare for one region, right? And then I'll be doing the semis and finals this year with Eric Collins and Philly at Drexel U. So my question for you is, give me your overall take on the history of TBT and what excites you most about this year's field.
Well, what excites me most about this year's field is all of the former champions and former championship teams that are involved. For years there was only two champs in, Notre Dame alumni and overseas elite. But now this year you got Carmen's Crew, you got Boeheim's Army. Of course, you got the defending champs, Blue Collar U. You got some guys from the overseas elite teams sprinkled in throughout, the teams. Mike Kabongo's on, the Texas team. And then you got the Golden Eagles guys playing with Boeheim's Army. So there's like 5 or 6 championship teams a part of this year. So I think it's really cool that, with the exception of overseas elite and Notre Dame alumni, and they got players, scattered throughout. It's like, all right, this is the 10th anniversary. Everyone that's won a championship is basically involved with the 10th year. And that gets me super excited.
Yeah, and I also think to add to that now the real basketball fans who follow TBT, they not only know these guys from playing with their college teams, but now they can really identify with Aftershocks, with Boeheim's Army, and the craziness up there. They can identify with, Golden Eagles. Yeah, it's become like, I don't want to say 12 months a year, but these teams, for a long time, people would ask me, who the hell is overseas elite? And I had to explain how good they were and where they come from and why they're called that. But now when you say Aftershocks, it's the Wichita State alumni. Boeheim's Army speaks for itself. Golden Eagles, our guys from Dayton, Red Scare, Carmen's crew. There's like an identifiable connection that transcends the season during the college season to the summer. And by the way, you can get great merchandise from those teams too. If you're a fan of Boeheim's Army, you can walk around Syracuse in the summer with your Boeheim's Army t-shirt. So the connection to the schools and the alumni bases is incredible.
Absolutely. Well, Fran, of course, I appreciate you coming on. I'm excited to hang out with you a little bit in Wichita, do a little bike riding with Pedigo bikes, do a little Doodah Diner eating, gain a little bit of weight. But like I said, appreciate you coming on. Enjoy the rest of your time in Vegas, and I'll see you in Wichita.
We're going to need those bike rides. Every time we go to Doodah Diner, we're going to need a long bike ride, Andrew. Bring your appetite.
Sounds good.
See ya.
Clocking out early, that's the dish I don't like. Been getting paid since I was riding on the bike. Hit the pedal with the 8th, hopping on the 9th flight. I've been chilling out of sight, I'll be at the bar tonight. Told the bartender, go and take my card to swipe. You try the same thing, but your card get declined. White rappers nowadays, no, we're not too hard to find. I'm so dapper with my ways, I'm gonna linger in your mind. Always told me good things will come to those who are patient, but I've been way too patient, writing bars in my basement. I'm anxious in the real world, it's time for me to say this. The basics, the talent in my mind, I can't waste it. My life is too safe, it's my time for it's taken. I'm baking my mind, every day it's the same ish. Lazy, my grind needs to get a new facelift. Coming from the underground and busting through the pavement. Rock with it, and lean with it. My team win it, my team win it. Now rock with it, and lean with it. My team turn up when I spit it. Now rock with it, and lean with it. My team win it, my team win it. Now rock with it, and lean with it. My team turn up when I spit it. Don't think that I'm playing because I'm saving the game, and I said that I will be more because oh yeah, that is so raving, racing and pacing around all these lanes in my lane, out my way, unless you're trying to pay me. Not from the playpen, it's coming from the jungle. When you hear the bell, you better be ready to rumble because I'ma grab the gloves and I'm gonna flex my muscles. Go ahead and spit some bars, but you're probably just gonna mumble. A lot of rappers these days really need to get them humble because they think they at the top, they better stop before they stumble. Cause I'm swiping all their biddies while they swiping right on Bumble. And your girlie calls me daddy, but she only calls you uncle. But no, we not related, homie, no, we not some fam. You never get in clubs, you can't even get in Sam.